G'day everyone, welcome to your postpartum return to movement. Really important that you have had clearance from your OBGYN and that you have, I'm a really big advocate for this, no matter how birth unfolded for you, please ensure that before you begin any movement that you have your postnatal pelvic floor assessment and checkup with a really great postnatal physiotherapist. They can do a really great thorough check on your diastasis, which isn't a case of will we have it, but to what degree and how do we go about rehabilitation. They will check your hips, your pelvis, your pelvic floor, your episiotomy or your tear or your cesarean incision. So just do everything you can within your power to have a really successful postpartum rehabilitation journey. If we haven't met before, if we didn't meet in the prenatal classes together, my name is Amy Carmody. I have two sons. My little Jack he's one, just turned 1, and my son Charlie is 5. I've had 2 cesareans. One was emergency, the next was elective, and I'm really excited to bring you this very gentle returning to movement. What you will need is in the description, but I encourage you to have something like a squishy ball. So if you have a Pilates ball, or sometimes a little pillow works well, or if your kids have something like a squishy little basketball hanging around, and if you have them, a theraband and a resistance band, a very, very light one. They're not completely necessary, so please don't stress if you don't have them, but you can come back to this class again and again. What's really important to set ourselves up for returning to movement is just like a checklist of, are we breathing well with our pressure system? So the primary muscle of your diaphragm, is that mobilizing and moving functionally and optimally in relationship to our deep core and our pelvic floor, because that's what makes up your pressure system. And that, you know, if we're bracing or we don't have the ability to even neurologically or physically connect to our deep core, that will make changes on your pressure system. So we just want to ensure that we're capable of both softening when we breathe and toning and lifting when we exhale or breathe. We want to try and get back into that glute strength. A lot of atrophy will occur, especially in the first 6 to 12 weeks. We will lose a lot of strength and even size to our glute muscles. So we want to try and build that back up to support the pelvis as much as possible. We want to try and mobilize our thoracic. No matter how you are feeding, bottle or breast, both are great. Well done you. No matter how we're feeding, we will be tender and sore and sticky in our thoracic spine. So let's just have this wonderful, gentle returning to movement. And I'm so glad you're here. And this is such a nice way to look after yourself and have some time to yourself too. So let's begin on an all fours position. Have your ball handy. We'll first just begin with this ability to 360 breathe, which is great diastasis recti rehabilitation. So in your quadrupedal position, which is a really nice way to learn how to do so, I'd like to let your belly fully relax as you breathe. You might get a little bit of a dip in your low back too. Then as you exhale, you pull the lift of your belly up towards your spine, which is not sucking in between your ribs. It's almost as if when we were pregnant, we were lifting the weight of the baby away from the ground. So it's that wrapping sensation. So inhale, try and let your belly fully go. And people who brace tend to have a really hard time doing that. Then as you exhale, we try and use the deep core sitting muscles to lift away from the ground. Let's try this twice more. Inhale. And exhale. Might get a little bit more length in your tailbone. One more time. So try and really let your belly go wide, big and soft. And then you feel that engagement around your wrapping muscles close to the spine. Okay. Step your right hand a little bit more forward than your left. Take your left arm out to the left like an aeroplane wing and just spin your chest open to the left. You don't need to reach your arm up to the ceiling, especially if you're feeling quite tender and sore in your chest. You could even grab the head of your shoulder and try and use your fingers to help you turn it. Thread your left arm under and through so that you're resting on the left edge of skull, and use your right fingertips to help push the floor away and to take the head of the right shoulder blade back behind you. Breathe into the back of the ribs, which I have no doubt are feeling a lot of compression at the moment. Then from there, lift your head a little bit, train track position your left forearm and use your toes to tuck and flip yourself on your outer left hip. Right hand comes to the edge of the right hip. Use the relationship between your forearm and the ground to help you lift your left set of ribs away from the floor. And 15 times I want you to do a good old clam, which is one of your best friends when it comes to postpartum. So again, reintroducing activation and strength to the glute muscles. You have 3 of them. Big glute max on the back, and then you have smaller portions on the side, minimus and medius. And moving the hip into abduction away from the center of your body is such a brilliant way to support your hip and your pelvis. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Help yourself. I do this by taking right hand forward, threading that left arm completely underneath to come onto your back. So we're being really, really mindful still of our healing, our diastasis, our incision if we have one there. So from here, take your hands onto the low belly just inside the pelvis and lift your glutes just a little bit away from the floor. We're doing a very nice low bridge to keep the thoracic out of it. So again, to help heal that diastasis, a part of that is by remembering that your rib cage belongs down here for the majority of the time. So just be mindful that pregnancy tends to flare and open the anterior body. So we'd like to try and reconnect to this fascial connection of keeping your ribs down. So from here, just feeling that effort in your glutes to extend at your hips. Take some nice, slow, deep breaths. Very normal to fatigue quite quickly when we're returning to movement. And for the basics, which is what we're honoring today, to feel really hard again. So don't be hard on yourself. That's normal. You can give your glutes a little bit of a tap because neurologically they tend to go to sleep as well, especially when we've been on the couch or in bed a lot, which, I was for the first 6 weeks. You're concentrating on establishing a relationship with your baby and your own body again, your milk, your sleep or lack thereof, and soften your glutes down towards the floor. So from here, press your hands down towards the ground just to get that support in your serratus, the muscles around your shoulder blades, and then lift your 2 knees away from the ground. Now, what we want to do is not flatten our spine down onto the ground. That will cause you to brace and grip. So keep the natural curvature of your spine, keep your ribs in connection to your body, but imagine the tissues, so the muscles and the fascial connections of your abdominals, your diastasis, so the space between your abdominal vertically, is coming towards each other like cling wrap, right? Now keep this, keep quite soft and relaxed in your neck. Tap 1 set of toes down, lift back up, 1 set of toes down, lift back up. So what we're trying to, with our breathing, is training again this ability in our deep core muscles. Your hip flexors are a part of that. Is can we structurally maintain position as we put demand on the core? So can these ribs stay together and down? Can my pelvis stay in that balanced position? I don't tip in my low back, and I also don't flatten and tuck my tailbone. Can I, with my breath, challenge the hip flexors, challenge the deep core by tapping the toes? Now, if this is too much, you can do the opposite and do a knee lift and down, a knee lift and down, okay? So gravity, it's a little more challenging to have your legs up as you switch change. So if you need to, you can start with just lifting your knee. 5, I'm sure your hips are feeling fatigued. 3, 2, and 1. From there, always remember, roll onto your side and press yourself back up. Okay, so now left hand comes more forward than the right, and just like an aeroplane, reach your right arm out to the right, but try and swivel in your chest a little bit, and then thread the needle. Once your head lands comfortably, come onto the left fingertips and pull the head of the left shoulder away, and maybe even sway the weight of your hips over to the right. There's again that really nice opening to the back of the rib cage. You'll be doing a lot of nursing and rocking and holding your little babe. So it's really nice to bring in that thoracic mobility. Breathe in and breathe out. Come up a little bit just to train track position your right forearm to help you flip onto that outer right hip, remembering that awareness of your midline. Left hand to the hip can help you again. It's not just physically that we get a sense of atrophy in our body because we haven't been using our muscles and we're rehabilitating from pregnancy. But neurologically, there just is like this slow wiring that occurs as well. We haven't been thinking about training our glutes for the last however long. So using your hand can help on your muscles to bring your brain's awareness to that area. So we want to be trying to kind of engage the outer muscles of the hip. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remember to help yourself lay down onto your back. Now this is where you can grab a strap, a theraband. It's just an option. And for those of us who have had C-sections, if you're not yet feeling comfortable putting anything over your incision, please don't feel stress or the need to. You could also take it up above. But you take your theraband quite taut, and you actually use a little bit of triceps in this variation of bridge because you need to push your hands down to keep the strap there. But it gives you a little bit of load and resistance for your bridge work. And then by making the hands hold the strap where it is, you isometrically engage your triceps too. So win-win. We'll do 20 glute bridge lifts. I also love the introduction of a theraband because not only does it add more resistance to your bridge, but it keeps the bridge low. Oftentimes I see a lot of people lifting up really high and getting the introduction of their thoracic spine involved, which is not a bad thing, but I really just want to isolate this movement to your hamstrings and your glutes. 7, 6, 5, a little squeeze at the top, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now we can go back to just, again, doing our knee lifts. Maybe you take thumbs to your ribs, fingertips to the top crests of your pelvic bones, and you're trying to keep a sense of connection at your midline. Or you can do a little bit more gravity, is having the toe taps. If you'd like to challenge this and you're feeling ready to, bringing the band adjacent to your chest and adding a pull will engage, again, a little bit more serratus, the muscles around your shoulder blades, your chest, but put a little bit more pressure on your core as well. And if you're feeling up to it, you can take that just a little bit of a hover off the ground. If this encourages a rib flare or a disconnection at your midline, just take it down a level. So your iliopsoas that you can feel at the front of your hips is a part of your deep core. So don't feel like if you're feeling this at the front of your hips that you're doing it wrong. It's good because you're training hip flexion, but we're also training the deep muscles of the core as well. 5, pull on the band if you're doing so. 4, 3, 2, 1, and you can put your strap to the side. Remember, when you come up, roll onto your side. If you've had a C-section, always have your thighs together when you go to flip around. Now, take the ball at your top of left foot. Let's position myself. Again, if you don't have one, you can make do. What I want you to do is have the knees lined up, but then slide the ball back and in, back and in. So we're using it as a foam roller would actually work really well too. So we're rolling the ball back and in, and would like your shoulder blades to be neutral on your upper spine, arms straight as you press. And we're trying to get that feeling again as we did in the dead bugs, almost remembering that feeling of when we lifted baby away from the ground. Now, to challenge this, lean a little bit more onto the weight of your left hand, come onto your right fingertips, and maybe reach your right arm over your head. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, keep pushing with the left arm, 3, 2, hold the last one, tuck your right set of toes, you've returned your right hand to the ground, and as you press into the ball, maybe also hover the right knee. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. So let's do the other side. Take the ball in at the right top of foot, knees are lined up, and you begin sliding the ball in and back, in and back. All fours position is such a brilliant way to train your core, especially in relation to your lower back. Know that your core doesn't exist just on the front of your body, it also exists on the back of your body. If you'd like to make this more challenging, come onto the left fingertips, pushing into the right hand, or taking left bicep by your ear. 7, 6, 5, 4, keep the support of your ribs, push the ground away, 3, 2, 1. You can return your left hand, stay pressing the shin or ankle into the ball, and maybe hover your left knee. That's very strong, so if it's just a beat and you come down and lift and come down, that's completely fine. Stand up, take your ball with you. We'll roll a little bit into the thoracic. Before we repeat this one more time with the option to introduce the band, I'm going to be really mindful that my microphone is right at my chest, which is where you'll press your ball, or you'll just give yourself a self-cuddle. I'm going to take it a little bit lower just simply because of my microphone. Otherwise, push the ball into your chest or wrap your arms around your own chest. So from here, you have a nice distance between the legs. Just start with these really tiny little circles through your thoracic. Right? So this flexion, rotation, side bend, extension, movement in your spine. You can go the other way. When you have an incision, we cut through, I think it's 7 layers of different tissue, and it's very normal to feel very taut. Go gentle in this with how much you move, but it is really important that you begin to move, stretch, and mobilize. The last thing we want is the adhesions and a stickiness to be created and the inability for your scar to move and mobilize. But of course, we want to make sure that we've had enough time to heal too. So circle the other way if you haven't already. Oh, isn't that so nice to move and mobilize? We sometimes overcomplicate it. Your rib cage, and then we can kind of go down towards the feet and back up. So these beautiful rolling circles can go the other way. Once you've done a few rolls, take the ball to the back of your head. Otherwise, it's just your hands. Press your head into the ball. Widen your elbows to get that nice pec stretch, and then shimmy right elbow to roof, left elbow to roof, right elbow to roof. Keep the ball. Come down onto your knees. Actually, I should say, take your option for your band to come around your knees. And from here, right hand more forward than the left, which is having a hold of the ball. This time we'll go ball towards the ceiling and thread it under and through. You don't necessarily have to land your left ear on the floor. We'll do 3 of these. On this last one, place the left hand underneath you, right hand lines up with the ball, come off your knees and back down. 5 of these, so knee lifts, pressing out in to the strap. And when you're ready, ball can go to the side. Train, track, position your left arm to come onto your left hip. And now you have resistance with your clams. Again, this is a really beautiful exercise. You can begin almost straight away when you feel ready to begin connecting to yourself in this way again. Because it's very, very gentle. It's a position in which shouldn't really disrupt any type of healing, but it connects you so deeply to your outer hip muscles, which are really important stabilizers for your hip. 3, 2, 1. If you have that extra strap, gently lay down onto your back. Place it against your pelvis. We have our 20 bridges, recruiting a little bit of isometric tricep engagement. You can go just above your incision if you're not feeling comfortable having the resistance band. And we also have that band around the knees, which will encourage the thigh bones to stay over your feet. Try and relax the mouth. Put instead the tension in at the glutes. Oh, it doesn't take much, does it? Just that little addition of the bands. It's already challenging without, and especially once we've had a little bit of muscle loss. 4, 3, 2, 1. Any variation of a dead bug you might be doing this time resisted, obviously with the band, or you can begin with knees up and tap. You can take the strap over the head. The trick with healing diastasis is not doing too much too soon. So again, know that when you've had a baby, you for the last 9 to 10 months have been completely putting your core on stretch. So don't expect miracles to happen overnight, that all of a sudden just because you're not pregnant doesn't mean the core just goes back to what it was before. It has been extremely challenged, and we need to take respect and time and a lot of love for things to not go back to normal, but to regain and rebuild your strength. So, you know, if this is being like quite a humbling experience and you're thinking, will I ever feel strong in this area again? Yes, you will. I promise you that. It's been, especially if you've had a cesarean, you've just had major abdominal surgery. So just, you know, cut yourself some slack. You feel very, very weak here. That's not a permanent feeling, I promise. 3, 2, 1. You can keep your strap. Come onto your side. We'll grab that ball again. And from here, you have right arm open and thread under. Thoracic mobilization in your rehabilitation is going to be your best friend. On that third one, keep it underneath the right hand. You have that strap to push into. We do a lift and back down. You don't even have to lift if that's too much. You can kind of sink into the shoulders and push away. If the knee lift is too much for now, just imagine you're lifting off the ground. Last 2. Last 1. And when you are ready, stand on up. Take the strap out. Whether you have the ball or not, bring yourself into a nice, firm, wide base. Find your self-embrace. These little circles you're creating with the thoracic. you can make them a little bigger and add a forward bend over really soft legs. I find this is such a beautiful way to reconnect to this body. How awesome is your body and what it's just been through, and you're still here to tell the tale. It's incredible, isn't it? So maybe this is an opportunity for you to remind yourself how remarkable you are, what an amazing job you are doing, that time is your best friend throughout all of this process, as is a lot of love and respect, and also, this is the hardest part, the willingness to show up to the work to rehabilitate, which you so wholeheartedly deserve. It takes conscious effort and continual effort, which is very challenging when we're very sleep deprived and having somewhat, no matter how in love and happy we are, a difficult time. So be gentle and kind to yourself, but you deserve to show up and to really rehabilitate as best as you possibly can, so that you feel as physically and emotionally and mentally as best as we possibly can through probably what is the most challenging time of our life. Well done. I'm so happy to share this experience with you, and I wish you all the best. Thanks, everyone.